Okay, welcome to part 2, where we're going to do some servicing on this thing. We're going to do some, we need to service the reel table motor. We need to clean the heads. We'll put some new fresh grease on some of the gears. And we will basically do a full service on this. And let's get the reel table motor assembly out, and this is the reel table motor assembly. They desperately need to be re-lubricated, and I'll show you what to do. But the reels, the oil starts to dry up in the reels, and then this particular model will actually struggle to fast forward and fast rewind. So it can cause rewind issues, like it'll be slow. That definitely can happen, you know. Yeah, with this particular model, you know, using the capstan motor. Now, Sony actually went back to the direct drive idler motor with the pendulum gear. Now, this has also got a pendulum gear, of course, but Sony went back to the idler, direct drive idler motor design because they were having so many problems with the capstan motors on these things stopping, and basically this was just a very cheaper way to make these machines work. Yeah, but the 711B32 is what I call it, is where they did go back to the direct drive idler motor with the pendulum gear, and that actually did help the reliability. And then they went to just a, you know, direct drive capstan for the capstan that does nothing else but the capstan. The SLHF 2100 and the 2000 that I worked on, those two particular machines have the older design where with the direct drive idler motor, instead of having the capstan drive, the capstan and the take-up and supply reels. And honestly, I think that, you know, if Sony would have maybe changed their design on the capstan motor, maybe they wouldn't have had to go back to the older design as far as the take-up and supply reels go. But yeah, so yeah, I think, you know, this was a nice machine. I like these machines just because of the simplicity of it. These machines are actually really simple and very basic. So here is the reel table motor. Now you'll notice that this little gear here, this gear is what is basically, it's next to the pendulum gear, and it turns the pendulum gear. This is where the belt connects to. So the belt connects to this pulley slash gear system, and it allows, and you'll see the geared tooth belt move when I do this. I don't know if you can see it moving, but But yeah, you pull on the belt and you'll see how it moves, you see? So, and then this pendulum gear goes back and forth between the two reels. Basically, the only thing that you need to do lubrication on with this particular system is the posts that the reels ride on, and you just clean those and re-lubricate that. And we use motor oil or 3-in-1 oil. Either one will work for the spindle motors, the spline, the posts that the reels turn on. This is a switch here that needs to be cleaned. This is your cassette in and record tab switch. One is for the cassette insertion. The other one is for to sense if the tape can be recorded on or not. Now, if this particular switch fails, what you will have is the tape will go in, it'll sit there, do nothing, and then pull it back out. So that's usually caused by a switch here that gets dirty. The contacts get dirty on the switch, and they can no longer make contact, and so it doesn't know that there's a tape inside. So when the tape goes in and if this switch is not working, the machine will just automatically eject it, spit it back out. So always keep that in mind. And of course, this is your, we know that we've got the capstan motor here, which drives the capstan and the reels. This is your direct drive head motor. They've actually went to a little bit different design, and these did not have the problems that the old ones did, where the older head drum motors would fail because of the Hall effect sensor would go bad, which was it was a 4-pin connector for the Hall sensor for the older ones. And this one's a little bit different on design, so they didn't have the problems with these that they did on the older ones. Sony did learn from their mistakes. They did start changing certain things to improve things, and as far as reliability goes, with the B3, it's a lot more reliable than the older B chassis, than the B2. I can't move these are the brakes. So this is the brake system for the take-up reel, and then you've got a brake here for the supply reel as well. This is your band, your tension band, and this is kind of like a little brake here. This is a little brake. So in order to get I'm going to need to remove this piece and this piece. So these two brakes will have to be removed. You can do that by just simply pulling back the tab. There's a little tab here that you just pull back, and then this will actually lift straight up. So I'm going to do that, and we're going to get the reels off. So I got the reels off. Okay, so I got the reels off, and we're going to take these and we'll clean the posts, and I will also put a little bit of cleaner down into the holes there to get rid of any kind of excess oil the old oil. We want to get that lubricated, so I'm going to get a new Q-tip, soak it in alcohol. We're just going to clean the posts, and then I'm going to apply some new grease. Now this is probably not showing up on the camera, but I can see the old dried up lubricant. You can see the old lubricant is a little bit dry on the dry side, so we definitely need to clean and re-lube that. Now I've also had to take the brake off, so like I said, you pull that little tab back and then you can lift this right off. So this is just that brake, one of the brakes for the take-up reel. And that's all we have to really do on this end. I do want to pull off the pendulum gear and do the same thing with that. We're going to clean the posts, and we're going to do some cleaning on that. So let's get started on that. Okay, so I've also got a Q-tip with some alcohol. Cleaned the pendulum gear. And this has got a very small little cut washer. Take that cut washer off and the gear will come off, and then you just clean that little post that the gear slides on, and then put it back on. Put some oil on there, put it back on. So this is done. So the only thing I need to do now is to clean the and there's no alignment on this gear, so don't worry about taking the gear on and off and worried about, oh, did I get it back in the right place, because there's no timing. It doesn't need to have timing. So alright, we're gonna clean that little hole in there, clean that. We'll put some fresh lubrication on everything. We've got everything lubricated, and that's what I used, 3-in-1 multi-purpose oil. Now if you need to get motor oil if you're working on a motor. If you've got a motor pulled apart and you're lubricating it, you'll want to use motor oil for that. Okay, but because I'm not dealing with a motor, I can use just regular multi-purpose 3-in-1 oil. And hey, I've been around since 1894. Wow, that's cool. Good stuff. So anyway, yeah, so now when I pull back the brakes, these reels turn really nice. Even with the brakes on, they still have a really nice, they really do just a fantastic, this is great, this is fantastic. Oil does a fantastic job. Before putting the reel table motor back on, I want to note two things. One is that when you're putting the screws back in on this reel table motor assembly, is you can see that they are plastic. These posts are made of plastic, and they do tend to break very easily, especially now because the plastic is, 30 plus years old and it's starting to get brittle. Now, what I have seen people do is I've seen people glue them back in place if they break, or they just put some glue there to kind of reinforce the plastic. But when you're putting the screws in, just make sure they're just snug. You don't want to over tighten them. If you over tighten your screws, you will snap this head right off. So these plastic mounting brackets can easily be broken. Now, another thing I want to note here is I'll show you. This is the brake. This is for the this connects to the capstan motor. It also releases the brakes on the reels, and this slides back and forth to do so. Now make sure that if this piece is forward, then your real table motor is not going to drop in properly. It's not going to be in the right place. So make sure that you pull this slide all the way back like that, and then we can put our real table motor assembly back in. Now, one of the things with this is that it can be hard to do it with one hand, so we're going to try and do this with one hand so that we can, there we go, just dropped right into place. You see how that dropped into place without any issues because we had the brake in the right spot. So the top side. Now, the things you want to lubricate on the top side is going to be the cassette housing, and you'll want to put some grease on the gear for the loading motor that threads and unthreads the tape. And I've already checked the grease on the cassette housing, and it's got that green grease. It's very good shape, very soft and moist, so I don't have to, luckily I don't have to mess with the cassette housing, because that's quite a bit of a job, because you got to pull, in order to get the cassette housing out you have to unplug this motor, which is plugged into this board, so you would have to unscrew the screws on this board, then you would have to take the front faceplate off. So, but it's good that I don't have to mess with the cassette housing because it's got really good grease is still on it. However, the grease on here is in a situation where it's really starting to dry, and it's actually starting to dry up, and there's some flaking going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a Q-tip and I'm going to clean off the old grease off the worm gear, and then we're going to apply some new grease, and that will take care of that. Usually to do this, sometimes it is better if you remove the motor from the VCR, and that way you can really get into the gear to clean and really lubricate it. And in order to do this, you will need to take the wires and make them so that you can remove them. We're going to go ahead and remove it. We just got to take all the wires and move the wiring out so that we can get to the screws. And we'll just keep removing the wire so that we can get the part out. Yeah, that's going to be the proper way to do this. So there's a screw here, and there's a screw down in here. Yeah, there's one there, and that's pretty much it, and then this thing will come off. Oh, there are alignment marks for the threading of the gears here. So that's the alignment hole you want to go to, is this bottom one down here. It's the alignment hole for the threading and unthreading of the tape. This is the mode switch right here. This is the mode switch, and these are sealed mode switches, so you can't, there's no way to clean them because they are sealed. And so what you can do is you can spray a little bit of contact cleaner in there between the two pieces of plastic there between this brown silicon board and the black plastic piece that sandwiches the two together. Alright, so now I can get my Q-tip down in there and clean off the old grease. Okay guys, so before you reseat the motor, you want to push back on this, and see, you just push back on that, and then this will drop into place. And like I said, you want to align to that alignment hole right there for the threading and unthreading. So I'll get this back together, and we'll throw a tape in. I am noticing that there's a little bit of little less grease than I'd like to see on that, so I'm going to add just a little bit of grease on this worm gear for the cassette housing, and then we'll pretty much be done with the mechanical servicing. So I'll put some grease on there. That plug is not staying tight in the back there. Now, I believe I was telling you about the alignment hole, and I'm pretty sure it was that bottom one. It may be the top, but when I put it into the bottom one there, the machine did reset itself when I turned it on. So it's been a while since I done a B3 chassis, so sometimes you just don't remember every little detail, but anyway. Alright. Now we just need to clean the video heads, and we'll take a look at the caps in the head amp and see if they're doing okay. The only thing I want to do on this, really, as far as replacing caps, is basically do the head amp and do the power supply. Mainly the power supply, because it's a switching power supply and they have problems. You can see there's the counter. And I just put just a little bit more grease on the worm gear here for the loading motor for the cassette housing. Okay, so here's the head amp. So I replaced the 1 microfarad cap because the other one was leaking, and this is where all that electrolytic. Okay, so we replaced the bad capacitor in the head amp. Let's just see what the picture quality is like now. And the last thing I want to do to this thing, go into the power supply, check some of those caps, because now somebody has been into the power supply, because the shielding plate for this back side is missing. So the shielding plate is not there. So somebody has been into that power supply before. Let's go ahead, we'll put a tape in. Oh yeah, much better. much better. I can tell it's so much better. So we got the picture quality is back where it should be. There's no more grain, because it was a little grainy at first, and now it's nice and clear and crisp and sharp. So that's what I want to see. I want to see a really good quality picture. Now here is a, so if we adjust the tracking now, even adjusting the tracking, the picture doesn't get real bad. There we go. Tracking is in the center. So that's where it should be. And our pause is better too. So we don't have as much noise with the pause. Look at the pause. And the picture, you can see some of the picture now in pause, where you couldn't before. Even slow motion. Look at that. Even the slow motion's better. Slow-mo is better too. So yeah, we definitely got this thing working so much better. So much better. The one capacitor that was bad, and it was a Nichicon, is right here. It's 50 at 1 microfarad, and it was leaking. I could see, you know, when I took I took a Q-tip to clean the area, and all this yellow came off, because that's where all the electrolytic had started to leak out. So if I would have left that cap in, it would have caused more damage. So, because the liquid would have destroyed the traces, I mean, it would have done a lot more problems could have occurred by that. But yeah, now the picture is the way it's supposed to be. Looks like my label is starting to come off on the tape. So next thing I'm going to do is go into the power supply. We're going to check the power supply out. So that's going to be the last thing I do, and then this machine will be completely repaired and fixed. So that is going to be the second step in the restoration process of this beautiful machine. So we will disconnect it from the television, and like I said, there's well, you can see evidence of where a shield would go, but there's a shielding plate that's supposed to go on the top here, and it's missing. Let's go ahead and get the power supply out. I'm going to go ahead and pull out these. Yeah, see, and the screws are loose too, so that also tells me right there that another indication of somebody that had been into this power supply. So this will slide out now, and we'll unplug connectors. You see that the brown ELNA? We want to get rid of that one, because those ELNAs, like I said, they tend to go bad. These switching power supplies have problems, mainly on the secondary side. It's usually not the primary side, it's usually the secondary side that fails. So, alright, let's unplug this. Alright. So we'll just take the shielding plate off that's left. But yeah, it's supposed to have 2 shielding plates on here. Now you can see how the power supply has gotten hot because of the discoloration stuff in the circuit board. Well guys, I replaced every electrolytic capacitor in the power supply. There is all the capacitors. They were all changed. Some of them were going bad. Some of them were actually starting to go bad. And so I changed them. But why did you change every single one when they were not all bad? Because these are all 85-degree caps, right? They're supposed to be 105 degree. And they've all had 85 degree put in. And that's not good enough. It has to have, see here it says, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, 85 degree cap. I put 105 degree in. So yeah, Sony puts in 85 degree caps in a power supply. Putting 85 degree caps, and then they wonder why their power supplies fail and why all the caps start to fail on them, because they're all underrated. So I have now put the right 105 degree in. So I have now I know that this power supply is going to last for a very, very long time. And there's not going to be no issues whatsoever. Last issue I'm going to take care of is I am going to resolder some of the connections here for the power. Okay, so I have resoldered the connections. For the power wires, I've resoldered those connectors. And I've resoldered the connectors over here. I've also made sure that these connectors were doing okay, because that's where the plug plugs into. That's the little socket, that the plug goes into. And then we're going to go ahead and power this on. And I've got another power cord that I'll see if he wants it, because the one that he has is not the right power cord. So yeah, like I said, all the caps have all been changed. This brown one, which was the Elna, it was actually starting to fail, and it was it doesn't look like it was leaking or anything, but it was leaking out of the traces a little bit. But some of them were having signs of starting to leak, and some of them were good. Some were still good. Most of them were still good. But like I said, they were not 105. They were 85, and I want to make sure we get the right temperature in there. I don't understand why Sony would put 85 degree caps in a power supply, but they have done this, and this is why their power supplies start to fail, especially the Sony SLV-R5UC, which was a Super VHS that Sony made, and they did the same damn thing. They put 85 degree caps in, and they were Elnas, and they would either they would fail or they would start leaking. So anyway, but yeah, let's just get this thing back together now, and this thing is going to be put together. I'm going to clean the heads. I am going to put a little rubber renew on the pinch roller. I'm going to clean the heads really well, and we're going to go ahead and get this back. Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is get the pinch roller is actually not too bad. It looks fairly good, other than you can definitely see where the tape was pushed up against the roller here. So we're going to use rubber renew, and you'll be amazed at what it'll do for this pinch roller. Taking them off is the best way to clean them, and we're going to clean it and rejuvenate the rubber, and that's going to end the, I've already cleaned the heads and everything, tape path, the audio head, control track, everything, erase head, it's all been cleaned, so this is the last step to do. And then we're going to put the machine together. Well, about what, I would say 10 Q-tips later, and some rubber renew, and I would say that that pinch roller is in pretty damn good condition right now, and almost all of the traces of where the tape was pushed up against it is gone. I mean, it is almost, and it's so nice and soft and pliable. So this thing is now fully done. I'm not doing any more to the machine. The machine is fully restored. I don't know if this is going to be a 2-part video or a 3-part video, but I know that it's too long to see, you know, for you guys to sit there and watch the hour and a half that it took to, you know, to do the video. I mean, that's with everything edited. If it was real time, we'd be looking at about 5 hours here. So, done a lot of work and restoring the machine. And not only did we repair what was wrong with it, but we've restored the machine as well. Now, we didn't do like a full restoration. We just did like a partial restoration is what I would call. Full restoration is where you take everything down to the bare chassis, where you're pulling every single piece apart and putting it all back together again. But hey, for what we done to this thing, I have confidence that it's going to last quite a long time. And you know, the guy does a lot of archiving tapes, so you know, he's gonna definitely need this machine to perform and perform well. The pinch roller is back on now. I've got the front faceplate off because I've got a little bit of Novus on the rag here. I'm gonna clean the filter here. The little screen, well, this is just a screen, but the filter, this is the filter. So you got the filter right in here. This is the filter that is a little bit dusty and dirty, and that's sometimes why the display looks dim, but it's actually not, because it's just dirty. And so, yeah, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Now, unfortunately, the plastic is kind of brittle on the front faceplate that I removed. I took my soldering iron and kind of reattached the plastic that's on that mounting tab. The mounting tab was kind of broken, so I kind of put as many of the pieces as I can find and put back on there to help it, you know, hold the plastic faceplate in place. So we got this clean. Now we'll just go ahead and clean the actual filter, which is behind here. So this is what needs to be cleaned next. So if we go to wipe this, and there's quite a bit of dirt coming off of there. So I'm gonna continue to clean and get all the dust off. Okay, so display is nice and bright, and you know, the power supply's been recapped. We restored the pinch roller. We fixed the capstan motor. We did full servicing, re-lubricating all the parts that needed to be done. So let's go ahead and put in a tape. This is a Walt Disney Mini Classics. It's a cartoon. Sometimes these older cartoons sometimes don't look that great, but sometimes they do. So let's just see what this looks like. Go. Adjust the tracking. Mini Classics. Alright, Ghostbusters 2. Somebody asked me the other day about if they made Ghostbusters 2 on beta with the smaller case. The answer is no. This was when, you know, beta was pretty much at the end of its life, and they, you know, they started putting beta tapes in VHS sized cases, and they done this to cut production costs. And so the mid to late 80s is when they started to put beta tapes in VHS size cases. And then they started putting stickers over the back, barcode that would, instead of, because if you took this sticker off, it would say VHS Hi-Fi underneath. But this sticker has got beta Hi-Fi because they have to cover up the VHS logo. And sometimes they'll have a beta sticker on the sides, and sometimes not. This one's got a beta sticker on the top there. But they did. Some companies still used the beta sized covers for the beta tapes, even in the mid 80s. But not very many companies. Most companies did this, and they had this little adapter that would slide in there so that you could fill up the space, so you could basically put the tape, and the tape would adapt. Anyway, I got a couple of recorded tapes. Here's a beta. This is a beta 1. the Beta 1S. So here's a Beta 1S recording. So there's Beta 1S, and then there's Beta 1, there's Beta 1S, and Beta 1 Super High Band. And this machine will play back all three Beta 1 speeds. The speed is the same, but the picture quality is better. So Beta 1S has better picture quality. That's Beta 1 Super. There was Beta 1 Super, and then Beta 1 Super High Band, SHB. And that Beta 1S is 5.6 megahertz. Beta 1 Super High Band is 6.0 megahertz. So you've actually got a mixture. You got a better, so the Beta 1S was a better quality image. It was pushing over 300 lines resolution. The original Beta 1 was around 250 lines. The original VHS SP was around 230. And then HQ came out, which brought it up to 240. And Beta 2 dropped to 240. So anyway, but there's Beta 1. Adjust the tracking. There we go. I've got another recorded movie. This one's recorded in Beta 1S. A lot of my tapes that I recorded off TV were in Beta 1S because that was the best recording speed that I had at the time of making the recordings. This is the Flintstones movie. Yeah. This was recorded off of Freeform. So we'll go ahead and put in another tape. I'm just testing this with multiple tapes. Just making sure that this machine is performing well. And making sure it's not going to create any kind of faults or anything like that. And I'm going to be, I'll be watching some stuff on this machine to make sure that it works okay. Here is an extremely rare title. This is 5 Mile Creek. This is volume 20. So I'm missing volumes 18 and 19 on beta. So I'm hoping to get volumes 18 and 19 on beta. These are very, very rare. This particular tape is extremely rare, and the guy that had this tape didn't know just how rare this tape was. But anyway, volume 20 of 5 Mile Creek. It was a Western TV series back in the 1980s, and it was a Australian TV series. So it was actually filmed in Australia. And this is actually on a Sony cassette, and again you've got the letters printed on the side as to what volume it was, which is number 20. There we go. She's performing beautifully. Yeah, I really want to have the other two volumes on the beta format. This series was released on DVD, but only season 1. This was they lasted 3 seasons, and that was it. And so they released season 1 on DVD, but they never did release the others. And so I wish that Disney would, like Disney Plus, would release the other seasons to DVD, because if they would, that would be awesome. Like, can't they put it on Disney Plus or something, you know? Like, we would like to have this. Maybe I could find, you know, maybe there's some reels or something. Like, maybe I can find it. If I could find it on like 16mm or something like that, some kind of home video, I don't know. I don't know, would this exist on 16mm film, or maybe there's 35mm, 70mm print. If I could find some like prints of this show and have it, you know, restored with a company that does that, you know, film restorations. I mean, that would be cool to get it on film and then have somebody scan it in 4K and do all kinds of, and do the restoration on it. But yeah, I wish that Disney would have released this series on Disney Plus. But as far as I know, it is not released. They never did release it. They released season 1. They released it on videotape only. So you only had 2 options back in the 80s. You could either have it on beta, or you could have it on VHS. Now, I have volume 20 on VHS as well. I do have 18 and 19 on VHS, but I want it on beta because of beta's superior picture quality. So there we go, guys. This machine is fully restored. I've been working on this machine all day. I'm pretty much done working on this thing, and I'm gonna just keep watching tapes and stuff in it, and I'll do a good testing on it for a few hours, and just to make sure that this machine is performing really well before sending it back to its owner. But I hope you enjoyed the repair video on this. And I know that I had to break it up into several. I don't know. I haven't decided. Am I going to break it up into 2 or 3 videos? Or am I just going to put it all on one video? All on one shot? If I did that, you guys might get a little bit bored. And you might lose attention. I don't know. Hard to say. I'll have to make a decision on that. But anyway. We will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.